Hey, beautiful people. How you guys doing today? Ryan Hamer here. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Today we're going to talk about 6 tips and things that you can do to boost your credit score. So I get it. Your credit score might have gone down for any number of reasons, and please feel free to check out my other video that talks about 6 things that can bring your credit score down. So today we're talking about the 6 things that can boost your credit score. Now, the first thing you want to do is check your credit bureau report. I always say this: check your credit bureau report for errors, because you never know what can be there, right? You never know what things that are there, what misrepresentations might be there by a collection agency or a creditor. They might not be reporting you could have a credit card and it might not be reflected properly on your credit bureau report. The reason why we say check it is because say you have a $5,000 credit card and it's actually being reported as a $1,000 credit card. That makes a significant difference because it affects the utilization and stuff like that. You're only being credited for utilization on a $1,000 credit card as opposed to a $5,000 credit card. And your credit capacity changes once the correct amounts are being shown. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Another reason why you want to check your credit bureau report so you can see what's there. You can see the correct balances are being reported. You can actually see that the particular item is being reported and you know what's there. So when you know where you stand, you have a better idea of improving the efficiencies and things of the sort with regards to whatever items that you have on your credit bureau report that are open. Collection items as well, you might want to check those as well. The next thing is you want to tackle the derogatory items in collections and the charge-offs and the late payments first. So you want to know what's there. Is there anything derogatory? Is there anything in collections? Are any of your open accounts written off? If they are open or if they're closed or written off, are they still showing a balance? Because that's a big issue. That's a big issue if it's still showing a balance. So you want to make sure that you double check that too. Okay? And when we talk about items that are in collections and things of the sort, you might have somebody calling you, but the item is not in collections, in the collection section of your credit bureau report. And if it is, sometimes it's an issue of a different company is calling you to collect on on the same debt that is being reported by a different company in the collection sections of your credit bureau report. So right there and then, that's a discrepancy. So you're gonna have to sort that out with the two different companies. Also, how are you going to deal with late payments? Are there any late payments? Sometimes I've heard stories of people going and checking their credit bureau report and they see late payments for a credit card and they know they don't have any late payments. They've never made any late payments. So why are there late payments? So you're gonna have to call your credit card company to find out what's what, if there's that type of issue. And then with something like that, of course, what do? You dispute it, right? You dispute it and you dispute it and you dispute it. Right? You want to make sure your balances are correct. And another thing about balances, you want to make sure that you keep your balances below 30%. 5, 10, 20% is ideal, but if you have to use more than that, then make sure you keep it under 30%. And we're talking about the totality of your balances, like everything, the average. When you do the average of your extended credit, make sure it's under 30%. The less is better, but if you have to use your stuff and you need it up there, then that's what you need to do. All right? Keep it as low as possible. Keep 30% as a buffer, like we'll say 29%, as low as possible, I'm saying. If you can get away with not going over 20, perfect. If you can't help it, keep it under 29. And lastly, your oldest card. I always talk about this. When you have a credit card that you've had, like your first credit card, should still be with you. So what some people do is they get more established in the credit game. What they do is they get rid of their first card. But you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't get rid of your first card. You should keep that first card because it contributes to the longevity and length of your credit history. If I open up a credit card today for $10,000 and I get approved and that goes on my credit bureau report, that card, that $10,000 card means less than a $1,000 card that I opened 15 years ago. Because it's the length of credit history and the length of good on-time payments. 15 years of great on-time payments for a low balance credit card or a low limit credit card means a lot more than it does for a credit card that has a high balance, like a high limit rather, that you just opened up last week. Getting approved for a higher credit limit is great, yes, but if you don't have the years of positive credit history to back up that account, then it doesn't mean that much. And it won't mean as much until you have the years behind that card or that line of credit or whatever to prop it up and to show your credibility. So that is also something that you need to keep in mind. All right? A lot of people make the mistake of going out and getting a credit card and it's got a huge sky-high balance, or I keep calling balance, limit. And people say, oh, well, I got this $20,000 limit on this credit card. I have arrived. Well, no, you haven't arrived, okay? You just got that card yesterday. You can't be Johnny-come-lately with a card and expect people to respect you and stuff like that. That's not how it works. You got your foot in the door, but now you got to show us what you can do with it. So you got to make the on-time payments. You got to keep the balance low. And it's got to contribute to your utilization properly and efficiently and effectively. And if you're not making an effective use of your credit, that's where the issue is. So just because you got a new credit card doesn't mean that you're going to be escalated to the top. Your oldest card matters. Your oldest account matters. Your oldest extended credit matters. And I'm not talking about a car payment. I'm specifically talking about revolving credits, like credit cards and lines of credit. And lastly, some of you guys have cards that, you might have more than one card. So you might have 3, 4, 5 cards, and you don't use them all at the same time, which is understandable. I mean, we don't want you to be just running up all debt and stuff like that, right? So what do? So what you want to do is you want to use those cards that you don't typically use. Like a small payment. You use it for a small payment or a small debt. Use it to get gas. So sometimes what people do is they segregate their cards. And they got one card that they use for reoccurring payments and another card that they use for expenses like gas and stuff like that. So say you got a Netflix bill, you can drop the Netflix bill on this card, and if you got another reoccurring bill, like a phone bill, you can drop it on that other card, on this particular card too, because these are reoccurring. These are bills that you pay every single month. So at least that way, you're not technically going out and using the card, but you know that these bills come off the card every single month. So then what you can do is, you got to pay the card, and you have to pay these bills, so you're taking care of two things at the same time. You're allowing there to be utilization on the card so it doesn't remain dormant and get canceled or what have you. Because what some companies do is, if you have a credit card that you do not use, then you have that credit, but it's being underutilized. So they'll charge you a penalty for that. Some credit cards will charge you a penalty for not using the card. I know, it sounds really stupid and weird, right? Like, how is it that you have a card and I thought I'm supposed to keep the balance low and not use it at all? So in this regard, it works kind of the opposite. So what you do is you're using the card a little bit so that you don't get that fee. Yeah, I think it's called a non-usage fee. Yeah, pretty simple enough, right? So that is a way people get around they get away with not really using the card, but using it, right? So that way they don't get slapped with that fee. Another thing you also want to do, and this is a bonus, you also want to set your cards up for automatic payment. If you know that you use 2 or 3 of the cards regularly, then set them up in your account set them up in your bank account where they are a payee, and you set them to be paid at a certain time each month. Typically, I recommend doing it before the due date so you don't forget to make a payment whatsoever, right? So you make the minimum payment, whatever it may be. Figure out what the minimum payment is and plot that in. And then you make sure that the card is paid every single month. And that way you don't have to worry, because your car is being paid every single month. And that way you won't miss a payment. Because a lot of times what people do is they got 3 or 4 or 5 cards, they miss payments. Because it's not just credit cards. You got to think about, you got lines of credit, maybe you have a car payment, you got insurance. There's so many things that go on and things that go through accounts where we forget. And it's human. But everything's done by machine, right? So they don't care. In their mind, you missed the payment. You can't, but if you set it up automatically, then it's a lot harder to forget about that payment. Now the computer is thinking for you. Now your bank account already has it set up as a task. So that way you can't miss a payment. All right? Thank you so much for taking time to watch this brief video about things that you can do to improve and increase your credit. I hope you found some value out of it. And if you did, please feel free to smash that subscribe button, like, share, or comment, or tell a friend. And if you did like this video, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know which tip that you liked and which one resonated with you, or let other people know which ones you are doing. All right. Thank you so much again for taking the time to watch this video. My name is Ryan, and if you have any questions or what have you can leave them in the comments, and feel free to reach out to me. And I do free consultations and whatnot. So yeah, thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and you have a great day.